Welcome back to the channel. Today we're at the Tank Museum at Bovington in Dorset. This is the place where armoured warfare's entire timeline sits under one roof. From first-generation prototypes to Cold War main battle tanks, if you're planning a visit, this is one of the UK's best military history days out, and yes, it can easily take a full day. There are several options to get there, as it is nowhere near London or a major city, and you are likely to spend a whole day there. It is recommended to spend a night or two at one of the towns nearby. More of that in my Substack article on this museum. The museum opens strong with the birth of the tank story. This rhomboid silhouette with tracks wrapping around the hull was built to solve trench deadlock. And seeing it front on makes clear how these early vehicles looked in 1916. Then you get Little Willie, the prototype chapter, crude, experimental, awkward and absolutely revolutionary. This is the point where the concept of tracked armoured assaults goes from theory to hardware. A second early war vehicle with turreted form helps bridge the design evolution, from rhomboid trench crossers to layouts that start resembling modern armoured fighting vehicles. The trench diarrhea section is excellent at context, duckboards, sandbags, cramped sightlines. It reminds you tanks were created as a direct answer to this environment. This shot shows the equation: mud, wire, and attrition below, heavy tracked steel above. It's the core logic of armoured warfare in one visual pair. Inside views like this show how brutal early crew conditions were: heat, fumes, noise, and very little ergonomic mercy. The Mark 9 display matters because it points toward mechanized infantry movement, not just breakthrough tanks. It's an early armoured personnel concept that foreshadows modern combined arms. I like that the museum balances machinery with personal artifacts. A wartime ring and individual weapons pull the story back from abstraction to people. This riveted armoured car with spoked wheels shows another branch of the family tree, wheeled reconnaissance and mobile firepower evolving alongside track systems. And no armour story is complete without engines. The Meteor powerplant exhibit is a perfect reminder that mobility, reliability, and logistics often decide outcomes as much as armour thickness. Now into World War II proper. The Panzer I command tank is a great opening note for Germany's early war doctrine: light armour, communications focus, and coordinated manoeuvre. North Africa gets strong coverage. These desert camouflaged vehicles let you narrate speed, visibility, heat, and maintenance pressure in the Tunisian campaign environment. The Valentine's profile speaks to reliability and infantry support, not the flashiest tank, but exactly the kind of platform that held lines and kept pressure on. Half-tracks are the connective tissue of mechanized war: troops, ammo, and momentum. These displays are ideal for explaining how armored formations actually stayed supplied and moving. This trio works as a comparative sequence: Allied and Axis medium tank design choices, gun growth, and how quickly doctrine and hardware had to adapt from 1939 to 1943. Then you hit the bigger silhouettes and realize how quickly adequate armor became obsolete. The war is basically an accelerating contest between gun, armor, and mobility. This is a useful theater pivot into Asia. Different terrain, different operational tempo, and often very different protection standards compared with Europe. Putting these two frames together makes a good visual lesson in scale and role. Some vehicles prioritize punch and presence, others agility and practicality. Classic doctrinal contrast: turreted all-round flexibility versus low-profile assault gun efficiency. The museum layout makes this comparison easy to narrate on camera. These are great texture assets for discussing armor shaping, suspension load, and why silhouette and gun handling mattered under battlefield stress. Never skip running gear. Tracks and road wheels are where design ambition meets mud, rubble, and maintenance reality. However, sometimes designs did not reflect the realities of combat, like maintenance requirements. Imagine having to change this track wheel. This might be the most underrated display. Not everything in mechanized war had an engine. Specialist bikes and utility gear show the everyday ingenuity behind frontline movement. Eastern Front section. The T-34's combination of slope, mobility, and producibility changed the war's tempo, To angles here let you discuss design and mass deployment together. Heavy armor and oversized guns represent the late war escalation curve, vehicles increasingly optimized for killing other tanks at longer ranges. The film-linked Fury display is a crowd magnet, but it's also useful history teaching, stowage, crew improvisation, and battlefield wear tell the story of lived armored warfare, not just specs. Post-war design branches out fast, heavier MBTs, nimble reconnaissance armor, and autoloader experimentation like the AMX-13. These are some of the most educational assets in the museum. Cutaways turn mysterious steel boxes into understandable systems. Crew stations, fuel routing, drivetrain, and turret mechanics all become visible. The Panther sequence is perfect for discussing why one design can be tactically formidable yet logistically fragile. Great gun and armor geometry, but maintenance burden was real. Here's the British answer to heavier German armor. The Firefly with the 17-pounder. The ammunition display gives you a clean way to explain penetration improvements and anti-tank doctrine. Tiger 131 is the star attraction for good reason. Keep this block tight. Armor intimidation, firepower reputation, and the practical truth that prestige vehicles still depended on fuel, spares, and trained crews. The anti-tank gun section is a useful counterpoint. You don't always need another tank to kill a tank. Static and towed gun systems shaped armored tactics throughout the war. Cold War wheeled armor returns us to the reconnaissance, fire support lineage. The Saladin shows how mobility and strategic deployability stayed central after 1945. American post-war armor illustrates the transition into MBT doctrine, better fire control, improved crew survivability, and long-term upgrade pathways. The Soviet line is presented clearly here. T-60 to T-72 evolution, lower profiles, mass production logic, and doctrine built for large-scale armored formations. Ammunition and missile era displays like this remind viewers that lethality moved beyond simple shell versus plate assumptions. British Cold War focus closes with Chieftain-era heavy armor and an engineering mobility visual that underscores a timeless rule. If you can't cross terrain, your armor advantage is theoretical. Walking Bovington from Little Willie to Chieftain and beyond, you can feel a century of hard lessons in metal, trench deadlock, mechanized breakthrough, desert maneuver, anti-tank escalation, and Cold War deterrence all in one continuous lineage. If this walkthrough helped you plan your tank museum visit, or gave you a clearer picture of how armored warfare evolved, like the video, share it with a fellow history nerd, and subscribe for the next museum deep dive. Peace is precious. War is hell. See you at the next site.